Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. Yeah, I think Walter's going to just record simultaneous, right, Walter?
That's right. I'm connected through the application. So,
Well, thank you for bringing your love to a simultaneous broadcast from Jesus. Lena, it's Lena. So he's broadcasting. $1:15. See, we're in 1:15 today. Thank you for coming to the Straight Up Club meeting, the rocket ship, to let Jesus guide every miracle. How precious is this? And that to see that he will take us through, and that every single one of us, there are no exceptions. There are just no exceptions to our ability to hear his voice, because it's what's most natural to us. The voice for love within. And that our only function, what a great reminder, is to speak that voice, speak as that. It's not the words, it's who's speaking them. And to hear them and speak them. He doesn't say, okay, go practice speaking that other voice. He says, I will tell you everything you need to say, where to go, who to join with. I was looking with them this morning at how much supreme happiness is avoided, how much that desire within consciousness plays like not wanting it one shred of a little peep of supreme happiness. Jesus, is consciousness the means, this fragmented consciousness, the means by which supreme happiness is obscured from my awareness? And do I relish it obscuring supreme happiness from my awareness? And do I need to see the desire to obscure supreme happiness from awareness? It's like, wow. And then we're on to it. We really listen to yes, and finally admit with honesty of God, I want to kill that light so bad. It's not that we can kill a breath. There's nothing killable. You can ask Jesus, Jesus, is there anything in the honesty of God that can be killed? Truly. But we have to see the wanting of killing as a desired experience, to see through it, to admit it, like, oh, I really do want to kill my brother in thought. And remember, he says thought is no different from deed. But to see it in innocence, you know, it's not our function to take ourselves off to jail somewhere, which the ego will do. Oh, you're guilty. No, just let it come up. Let the thought be forgiven. Let love shine. Cease to deny that infinite love's here. Yeah, he's reminding me of a very powerful, like when the mind opens to the decision to choose differently. It was really before the course, but it's just so deep. And I've been coaching in the women's prison for a number of months. I don't know if it was my first class or not, but I think I told the story. Like every time I leave that prison, like after the class, it was a class to talk about beliefs and how beliefs can be changed. So it was for me, obviously. And you just see how precious these things when they're given. You don't even see what you're being given, right? You're given this assignment, and it was really before the course, but some part, just really, well, we just know, we know these things. We have to step into it, even though like I'd drive home from that prison. It was about an hour from Milwaukee to Madison, and I'd bawl the whole way home because it felt so emotionally intense, the intensity of it. But what I was looking at, is the darkness coming up in the mind to be healed. The idea of darkness, the idea of, in the way of the world, these were like tough women, had lived seemingly through all the play and consciousness of rape and, being beaten and I just, you just see it, he's letting me see it new with even greater power, the infinite power that was carried in the decision to step into that function. And yeah, he's actually reminding me of two of the women. I mean, what can I say? Just like pure love comes down when I think of it, that the gift of that. And since we're talking about the idea of killing light, before we can see we're killing light, then the symbol is going to come into mind of where we need to look at killing. And so I was in a coaching, I would coach them one-on-one after the class, and this woman came in. You can see this all points back to infinite love. But there is just a way that I've been taught, and I can see how helpful it was to see that beliefs weren't real, and any stories that play in the mind are not real. It was the way the Spirit was showing me, no, these are just not real. And so it was any kind of quote unquote trauma that played in the mind, you could just kind of you could call it rewiring. It was a form of forgiveness, because all forgiveness is seeing with the light of the Holy Spirit. And so she came into the coaching session and I said, well, what would you like to work on today? And she said, well, I stabbed my boyfriend 7 times and I killed him. And this was well before the Course in Miracles, but I guess the prison coaching in that prison was my court, was really learning. It was actually learning charity, to see more in my brother so I could see it in myself. And I just paused for a moment and the thought really came. The thought was there, well, maybe I'm not meant to help her, which would have been my belief, that I would be unhelpable. But I didn't see that at the time. And I just said, it was like the mind open. That's all we need. That's all willingness is. It's okay, I need to see this another way. But it was there like, well, maybe guilt, people deserve to feel guilty. Maybe she deserves to suffer. Maybe I don't help her. And it was so clear. I mean, it was just a pause. And then the answer came. This serves no purpose because it will replay again. So there's the Spirit right there coming in with the answer that it was in my function at that time, because it was for me to work with her and to see that this play in the mind of killing, this guilt, just serves no function for us. It just, to see that it was untrue until I could see that it's the same, whether the thought that some storyline about killing somebody, that it's all the same, to see that it's, it's trying to kill the light out of awareness. Yeah, and he's reminded, so It's like he reinterprets everything, so it's just like infinite love. So he's reminding me about Rhea, who she came in and into another coaching session. You know, and these women in the way of the world, they were like tough. They were just really, but underneath it all, we try and be tough, but they were like, oh my God, they're so adorable. You know, it was for me to see, right, that the innocence, really the innocence. And she came in and it's like I can't even hardly remember what she came in. She was, oh, I know what. Her stepfather had poured hot boiling water on her. So she had these huge scars on her arms from that supposed, see, these ideas of abuse. It was really the way the Spirit was showing me to look at these a new way. And her arms just had these huge scars on them. And I said, okay, so what do you want to work on? And I'd like to work on that. And there's just a way of how the Spirit reinterprets, to go back into the memory, and you go with Jesus, or you go with just exactly like we do in the Course, and you just go back up into the memory. And right in the memory, I just remembered, holy smokes, this is going fast. It was like 20 minutes. And all of a sudden she starts going, he raped me, like right in the middle. Like I'm going, oh my God, what do I do? Well, you call on God right about that point. But the training was in place. I'd been trained, you know, it's a transferred training not to see that as true. That's not true. And that there's another way to see it. And we just kept working, you know, on it. And I'm not kidding. It was totally burned. She'd been raped by her stepfather, in addition to him boiling hot water on her in like 20 minutes. It was gone. It was like completely at peace. It's like, it was so far from the beliefs in this world, but it was for me to see that the correction does not take a lot of time, these things. It was willingness. It was willingness. It was the joining of the two to see what's true. That we are not bound by the idea, by these memories, by, she wrote me a beautiful letter. I mean, just a beautiful letter saying, you know, now her scars should be a reminder of the courage. You know, they became a whole new, because her whole life was ruled by this event. And that's what we've done through the desire. It's not when, it doesn't happen when the event happens. You know, it seems like, okay, I was burned by my uncle, my father, hot boiling water, whatever it is. And we go, that's what scarred me. That's the way the consciousness plays. But it happens well before that, in the decision in mind to have an experience of being abused, or however that appears in the mind, because it's all in the mind. But what a gift, you know, to really start looking at the way that consciousness plays, the decision to create these stories and have a little storyline, and then use that as an excuse to say no to what's infinite. And just so much love. So that bawling every day, just, you know, but you're so compelled. You know, there's a part of us that's so compelled that to step through these things, you know, to really look deeply. Is this true? And what a gift that was. Is this true? Is that true? Is that belief true? Is that true? And again, they stretch outside the comfort zone to really step into looking to see any of this. Is the killing of the light true? Is killing of a body true? Is that true? And that's all we're asking. We're just going, okay, Jesus, I am willing to see and be curious. And I can see how that curiosity just kind of took hold in all the looking, you know, and I can see Jesus was behind it even before I knew Jesus was behind it, just like he's with us. When we start looking, you know, It's so touching because now I can see he was there, you know, to go back and with him and see that he has been here with us every moment of every day, just loving, because, and not have a reason to love. It just loves. That's all. So today we have lesson 115. Jesus, thank you for showing, you know, every time he uses these stories and he brings the mind back to him to a deeper level, just pure, infinite love and everything. Whereas like for her too, you know, in that symbol in the mind of the play in consciousness of holding on to quote unquote a bad experience. But no, he was teaching me the speed of the correction. This need not be. In that, and teaching me through these the loves of my life. That I see it, that I recognize those women would be the loves of my life, and the men in the prisons. It's like I can, the one thought of that is like so much love. The retranslation of something. What a metaphor. Going into the prison of the mind, going into a physical prison. Just see it ain't so, you know, it's just not so, these things. So for today, 115 for morning and evening review. And to really ask this question from lesson 99. So salvation is my only function here. Jesus, will you tell me, am I willing to accept right now that salvation is my only function? Will you show me any doubt thoughts that salvation? Do I have any doubt thoughts that salvation is my only function? True salvation. We're kind of laughing because you start to see how in the play of consciousness and fragmented consciousness is absolutely dead sure salvation lies in fragmented consciousness. Absolutely sure my salvation lies in the things of the world. Jesus, do I need your help showing me? So much love comes showing me that I have a belief that salvation comes through things of this world. It's like that supreme happiness, quote unquote, comes through objects of the world. Like it can't even know supreme happiness. That's so impossible. That it's all to suppress supreme happiness. Now that's just a twist when we start seeing how much and how badly we relish suppressing supreme happiness from awareness. But it's the way to go. It's honesty of God. Honesty to God, direct. My function here is to forgive the world for all the errors I have made. Yeah, he's always bringing forgiveness back, you know, to where it roosts in the heart. Like with the whole song of prayer, doing that every night and just keeps bringing it back. Okay, it's here. The power to accept divinity is here. See, the moment we put forgiveness outside ourselves, we're dead to the world. We're dead to the light. Yeah, Jesus is saying this is forgiveness to destroy. It's still in the play of consciousness. It's still in the play. Jesus, am I willing to forgive the world for all the errors I have made? Or is there any like little twitchy holdbacks? He said, all the desires and the twitches will tell you where you're withholding salvation from yourself as your only function. That's how consciousness and fragmentation keeps the experience of separation. Yet we can always be reminded, and this is so helpful, it's been so helpful, how he'll bring us back to seeing that the light has come, it's here. So even while we're screaming and yelling and not accepting salvation as our only function, we can't escape being saved already. In the Bible. There's no way. Just just see the light of divine being, because we can all see it. And he says, if you don't think you can see it, talk to me. And I'll help to reveal the desire to not recognize that infinite light here is always here. Just one thought of light, the power, one thought of joining. See, it's always pointing. He's given us all these ways of pointing up. Joining with your brother will help wash out the ideas that you cannot recognize the holy instant now. So even if you're not sure, join. The great solvent of personal identity, join to see what's true. For thus I am released from them with all the world. And that's really what we're looking at. Any little pockets in the subconscious caverns, any little pockets of unforgiven world. And how much we need the dialogue. I remember finishing the course and going, well, Jesus, where's the happiness? Or you may finish chapter 20 and go, where's the happiness? Now, after chapter 20, you'll have the tools to talk with Jesus about where they're really being denied. A lot of them will be cleared with the sincere joining with the brother. It's very humbling to see how many of those, as I said, when he first started showing that to me, and I'm having to go, do I have that one? Yep. Do I have that one? Yep. Do I decide? Yep. But then it blooms in the mind. This is the way out. The honesty of God. Recognize light's here. See that we don't want it in any way, shape, or form. Just want to boot it out of awareness. Admit the desire to deny, accept a miracle, and go as many rounds in the release as he tells you that's necessary for looking at the level of desire. Do I desire this? Do I desire an experience of suppressing supreme happiness out of my awareness? If we're not supremely happiness, we do. The play of consciousness. Do I desire an experience of suppressing God's holy peace out of my awareness, Jesus? He says yes, and okay, show it to me. I'm ready to release that desire for the perception, because it's only perception. Because even if we desire it, it doesn't make it true. My part is essential to God's plan for salvation. Jesus, do I have a doubt thought that my part is essential to God's plan for salvation? Because I remember that. That was, I'm not important. I'm not, what does God need me for? Those sorts of plays in the fragmentation. It's good to see through those with Jesus and see you're absolutely essential. Your holiness is everything, really. You're the expression of all that's given by God. How could you not be essential? We go together, you and I. What a beautiful... We can't go anywhere without each other. That's the truth of it, because we're all light and there's one light and we're all together. I think someone was asking Ramana when he was dying, the body was falling away. You can't leave us. He goes, where would I go? I'm with you till the end of time, till you see that I can't be apart from you. The end of time is seeing that the Christ cannot be apart from us. Then we're admitting timelessness. Divine being is not subject to time. I'm essential to the plan of God for the salvation of the world. Jesus, will you show me how I'm essential to the plan of God for salvation of the world? He said, only by accepting that you are can you see the face of Christ. No, you're so essential. Oh my gosh, you're so essential. You're everything to God. You're God's everything. So then you become my everything, not my as a person, but the celebration of life within. You're that. The celebration of all that is, a continual reminder that God is here. That's your function. You're just the continual reminder that God is here. Am I willing to take that role? Is given by Him, that's your function? Or am I going to be the play of fragmentation in consciousness to attempt to prove that God is dead? Am I taking that role? Either way, you're still light. Either way, no escape for you from God. You can wiggle like the dogs and try to get out of the God leash, but no, you're already tethered. You got the God stamp of holiness. No choice not to be light. For He gave me His plan that I might save the world. God's plan, here it is. The 3-word plan. You are light. That's a simple plan. Let's just ask Him for the fun of it. We were really laughing hard last night. It was so great. And Jesus, do I have a desire to make God's plan for salvation complicated? Do I really relish making that plan for salvation complicated? You know, trying everything out in this world except just forgive, just everything other than see no error. I want to try on everything except see no error. It's like, that's just the play. Everything except see no error. Everything except salvation is here. And I'm essential. But it's okay because it's still here. It doesn't change that it's here. So hilarious. Just like a little child, again, in the store, all the love of its mother standing right there over it, just loving that baby. And that baby is wailing and screaming on the floor and pounding its fist. I want that candy, you know. That's what we're doing. Ask Jesus. Jesus, is that what I really relish doing? Like being a little kid and just yelling and screaming because you're not giving me hell. You won't grant me my desire to have hell. You're only going to tell me that I'm infinite love. That's it. That's all you're trying to tell me, that I'm infinite love and I'm trying to give you the boot. You know, don't come near me, Jesus signal. I don't want to talk to you. because that's the way fragmented consciousness plays. Because if it lets Jesus come close, it's time's end. On the hour, salvation is my only function here. It's, you notice with these, this is how a fragmented consciousness, so we can laugh a little. Okay, so here comes fragmented consciousness. So here's one of the most powerful higher order thoughts that Jesus gives us. Okay, salvation is my only function here, but Jesus but Jesus, I have to earn a living. See, the fragmented consciousness is going to take that sentence and going to add a but Jesus after. And it's going to have an I in it too. It's going to, I gotta. Notice that where he puts the period. See, it's best for us to get where he's putting the period. Salvation is my only function here. And then we cease to speak, and then he can fill in the rest. But if we fill it in with salvation is my only here, but Jesus. It kind of, see how quickly the consciousness comes in to kind of overwrite. And then consciousness has a conceptual idea about what salvation is. It has its idea. Salvation is a car and a boat and a plane and projecting on my brother. Salvation is killing the light out of awareness. So let's just ask him. We do a check-in, Jesus, because this is celebration when this scene. If he tells you yes, if he tells you no, they're both a celebration because they both point back to infinite. This is where we really see where this honesty of God comes to point us up. Jesus, do I believe that salvation comes from the world? That I can find salvation somewhere in form? And if he says yes, then we celebrate that equally. It's the prodigal son's home, because as soon as we see that we're trying to get salvation through the world, we can choose again. We don't have to choose that. We can't really choose it. It's just a play in consciousness, like we can choose salvation through the world, but you can't really. You can ask them because you've already been saved. What need would you have to try to get salvation through the world when you're already saved? It's already done. So, okay, let's look at this one. My part is essential to God's plan for salvation. Jesus, do I like substituting my plan for salvation for God's plan? Might as well look directly. Any smidgen of trying to come in and usurp the power of God in there. And we can laugh at them because we laugh at all these ideas because they can't happen. So Jesus, even if I want to usurp God's plan for salvation, can I actually do it? Can I accomplish that? Even I've put that as my highest goal, not to be saved. Am I still saved through the light? Oh, yep. Try as we might, there's no way to get around the light. It's here. It's already come. Too late, already saved. Next question. Next argument with God about not being the light. Let's see what next argument comes. But Jesus, but Jesus. Oh my gosh, about 100,000. It takes about a bazillion but Jesuses to try to keep the stream alive, and then it seems to take, I'm going to ask them, wait. I'm saying, okay, so Jesus takes about 1,000. It seems like it takes 1,000 yes Jesuses to get for some. He says for some will just say yes Jesus once. And they don't need to say it more than once because they'll accept that, yes, Jesus is all there is. It's a very humbling trip. Okay, so it's not necessary to say it over, but for some of us in the play of consciousness and the addiction and really enjoying saying no to Jesus and usurping the power of God is experience. But he says, see, it's all the same. You can say, but Jesus as many times you want. We can just make exceptions for all the reasons why we're not holy, but it's really not going to do anything. So we already know who wins, and we're happy that he does. God's right and we're wrong. It's just that. But until we admit how much we want God to be wrong, and we want to kill light, and we want Jesus to be wrong, and we don't want to talk to Jesus, there's no place to go except marinate in hell, basically.
Yeah.
So this has been really beautiful. It came to mind. We're going to translate. We have some beautiful translators coming in. We're going to join on converting this little chart to Spanish. But we are going to share this diagram and for me to talk about it this morning. And then Walter will share Spanish, but we will get the diagram itself translated. So we're going to share that with you.
You want to try it there?
What?
You play.
No, I think I'm going to sit back there. It's much smoother. So we're just going to do a little move around here. So this is a little diagram that came where Jesus was really helping me understand how desires suppress the supreme happiness. Okay, so it's a desire to suppress supreme happiness. No, I'm going to talk.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and talk. And there is a Spanish translation in it. You can see that's playing right now. So there is this translation, but what we want to do is to get the diagram itself translated for you. So we start with infinite light, and you can see that here. That's what we are, infinite light. And through the play of consciousness, the desire arises for something. Let's have a little play and pretend like we're not holy, we're not one with the light, that we're not supremely happy. It seems insane, doesn't it? And it makes this little bubble here, almost like a little bubble of desire that looks inward inside of itself rather than looking at the light. That's the tiny mad idea that it's pointing to down here. Death to the light. I'm going to kill the light out of my awareness. It's going to murder it. That's the desire for choice. Choice will kill the light out of awareness. Because the light, heaven doesn't need choice. What we are doesn't have choice. It just is light. So that desire, it's like a little inward energy movement where all this energy of desire starts pouring inward. See that little gray pipe there? And all the thoughts, beliefs, focus, and meaning and stories start arising to support that desired experience. And all the experience starts coming out of these beliefs and focus and the meaning into stories. It just pours inward, away from the light. And we get emotional feelings. We're just addicted to all the feelings. You can ask Jesus, am I addicted to feelings? And then everything becomes judged and filtered through these feelings. And out of that's going to arise in the inside in the bubble, the misperception that we're separate from the light, even though we're permeated by the light. Now, I mentioned here that David's diagram has perception on the outside. It's just folded inside out. This one's just helpful because you can see everything's permeated by light, and it's the ring of desire that seems to hold everything inside. It seems to hold us fixed apart from God, where consciousness is fragmented and we feel like we're separate. That's why Jesus is taking us directly to desire. And if you look at David Hoffmeister's diagram, he points out a miracle comes in at the desire level. So that's what's creating this little dream bubble. And they can call this sometimes the ring of fire. Oh, I can't get through that. See, I can't get through that guilt and fear and personal identity. It's all looping inside the middle of the diagram. So that's where Groundhog Day is. We just loop inside that little dream bubble, meanwhile permeated by light. And we perceive ourselves as separate through the desire to experience separation. So start with light. You can see it emphasize light, light, light. Learn to listen to the light, speak the light, and follow the light. You can see that it brings us looking outside of the bubble. That's the Holy Spirit. That's why he uses the Holy Spirit for us to look outside and to use the miracles to dissolve the desire to deny the light. In honesty of God, do I desire this? So we admit the desire and then cease to deny by accepting the miracle, and that dissolves the dream bubble. So he's giving us a really fast, simple way to go directly to desire with him, and he'll show us what the desire is if we ask him. We don't have to spend all the time in the rest of this, all this other stuff that's up there. You can look at desire for anything, the emotions and the misperception, and then he'll help you clear it. This stays out of guilt. See how guilt's coming up around the thoughts, beliefs, and meanings after the split. After desire comes the split. So we stay with the light and then have the willingness to look out toward the light. This is this yellow arrow going down here, this yellow. Stay with the willingness to look outside with Jesus, and he'll show you the desire. So we look at all things from the light's perspective. And that's what the circles of light are given for, the light circles, and joining on chapter 20 to start to have him show where these desires are, so that they can be released to miracles, and how much we like those desires and don't want to give them to a miracle. We like holding on to them in the play of fragmented consciousness until we see that we cannot get heaven through those desires. We'll continue to experience suffering. We actually believe in the play of consciousness is to make it seem like suffering is heaven. why we come together. And again, we'll be working on that to change that diagram over to Spanish for everyone. And it's just helpful. Whenever you're thinking that you're upset or you're in the emotions, just remember, go to Jesus and say, Jesus, will you show me what that desire is? Do I desire this experience? And can I have a miracle? And just stay with him, releasing the desires, and say, just show me how much I really want this more than God. Do I want this more than God? And he'll show, like he was showing me, how much the desire to suppress supreme happiness out of awareness. Sometimes it's like, oh, Jesus, I want this with every cell in my body. I want this experience. It's like that. But that's the release, to really admit the wanting. And then it lets all that suppressed energy of desire rise into awareness to dissipate in the light, the infinite light of being. Then we can rest in peace, like Jesus says, who with this many desires could ever rest in peace? Well, we can't. No rest. So thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Walter. I'm sending you a big hug. We're going to listen. Lori's going to come and sing us a song of joy for today to take us out of the dream bubble. Together. We go together, you and I. So everyone's essential in this plan. And Jesus, thank you for reminding me that continually, everyone. One brother, one tiny thought of a brother cast out is killing the light. Okay. Do you want to? What?
The lyrics are
Oh, the lyrics are on their way. We're sending you lyrics.
You're on mute. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Good morning. This is called Hummingbirds. La 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 we love. La 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 rocket ship. Thanks for singing. I love when you sing.
Thank you for singing your song of joy with us. We're so grateful. Whatever you bring here is so welcome. We're so blessed to have mighties in such deep devotion to God. Amen.